on the forthcoming assembly of 10,000 for World Peace to be held in Hyderabad. My name is Ram Srivastav, and with me here is Mona Cosman. We will both be co-moderating today's conference. We are here to announce the assembly of 10,000 advanced transcendental meditation practitioners from 132 countries, demonstrating scientifically proven technologies of consciousness that create peace not just for the individual, but for the whole world.
Gravitational field is non-local. It's something that is not limited in space. You know, the Earth exerts its gravitational field. The sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, the galaxies, they have their gravitational field. And that field is all over and extends beyond strict limited dimensions. It is like, in a simple way, the ocean and the waves. So you have the ocean and you have the waves on the surface of the ocean. You see the waves, they are localized. And if suppose you can see only the waves, then your mind and consciousness is limited on the existence of the waves. If you dive deep into the ocean, you discover that there is a field, that is the field, what we call a field, which is the entire ocean, and which is able to create all these waves. And then you can, if you act from the deeper levels of the field, then you are able to create an effect on the whole surface of its expressions. Of course, it's a metaphor, and metaphors have their limitations, but this is just to have a feeling of how the technology works. It works from the field level. Our consciousness, individual consciousness, which means our awareness, I am aware, you are here, you're aware, I'm talking, you are conscious of it, and you have different faculties of thinking, of intellect, of analyzing, of feeling about it, of seeing things through the senses, but all of this is happening in the field of consciousness. Because if we were not conscious, then neither you will understand, nor you will think, nor you will comprehend, nor you will feel. And what would it mean for you that anything exists, that you are maybe the most intelligent person, or beloved person, or wealthiest person in the universe? If you are not conscious, then all of these things don't matter. So that's why we say consciousness is primary. And that's why beautifully Ramji, our master of ceremony, has expressed that UNESCO saying, which is everything starts in the mind and consciousness and awareness. Decisions for war, decisions for conflict, decisions to make a business, decisions to take a profession, to do something, all happens in the mind, all happens in consciousness. And we understand consciousness, not just human consciousness, but as a field that actually, again, manifests in different values. As you will hear, Dr. Hagelin, a great scientist, will express how this concept of field is and the different layers of expressions, just to give us an idea of how it works. So, how it works is on the basis of enlivening something, which is the basis of everything, the field of consciousness. And that in the Vedic literature is beautifully expressed in Vedantic terms, and the fact that the field of consciousness is Satchit Ananda, that we are all that everything is that, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahm, Vedoham, and all of these values that are expressed, Aham Brahmasmi, are a reality in the scientific understanding today. I have had the chance and the fortune to work under Maharishi's guidance on showing, for example, how Veda and Vedic literature are actually the blueprint of our own human physiology, which means even the physical reality of our body is constructed according to the structure and function of Veda and Vedic literature. This is a huge topic, but it's very dear to my heart. I can't miss the occasion to express it to you because it also demonstrates the profound relationship between consciousness as experienced by the rishis, and this is the Veda and the Vedic literature, and our even human body is constructed according to that, which means the shlokas, the mantras, the sutras, all of this are actually available in a physical form in our own body.
Thank you very much, Ram. I'm really honored to be here. Dr. Nader gave us a picture that consciousness streams out, identifies with the world around us, and that's how conscious experience takes place, but also through specific Vedic technologies, transcendental meditation, TM City program. Consciousness can turn within and experience this field of consciousness at the source of thought. We've had meditators describe their experiences of this field, and the words they've used are the absence of time, absence of space, absence of body sense. The experience of this field is a part of us that is outside of time. It's eternal. It's a part of us that's beyond the body. It's a part of us that pervades the universe. And this is a felt experience, and because it's a felt experience, we can see it in the brain. The brain I see as the interface. And by looking at changes in brain functioning, we get an indication of what's happening in consciousness. What we have here is the bottom is the time. We see that there's 10 columns, 10 seconds. The right side are 32 different points on the scalp. And what we're seeing here is, this is the mind caught up in thinking. Notice what the brain waves are like. What's happening is they're very low frequency, they're very low amplitude, the frequency is very fast, different parts of the brain are doing different things. Here we have the brain in the process of transcending. Notice how it's fundamentally different. First, the frequency of the brain waves are very slow. You can actually see them going up and down. And if we count them, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is a 9 cycle per second wave. Notice we see this wave in all of the lines. That's all the points on the scalp that are being measured. The whole brain is settling to its ground state. And this is what the brain is doing when we're experiencing this inner field of consciousness. Also notice that the rising and falling of each wave is going together. This is called coherence. And what coherence is giving us is a picture of how the brain is connected. Usually when we're seeing the world, localized areas are coherent. The process of experiencing the field of consciousness, the whole brain is just settled into its ground state. It's a holistic functioning of the brain that supports that holistic value of consciousness. And it's actually given a name, coherence, when we see the brain going up and down together. So let's see this in real life. We have with us today Pavani Garoti. She's visiting her family in Delhi. She agreed to demonstrate her brainwaves for us. And our tech people will change the screen so actually see her brainwaves. This is a equipment which Bernard Marcus has created. And what we see here, thank you, Bernard. What we see here are 3 columns of data. The top one is what's happening in the left and right side of her brain at this moment. The bottom one is the coherence. We're looking at the front of the brain because the front of the brain is what directs the rest of brain functioning. So these large spikes that you see here, these are eye blinks. The reason it's so high is coming from the eye muscles. In between here, each column is a second. You're seeing very fast EEG. That's what the brain waves looks like when 150 people are looking at you. And the bottom line is coherence. Notice sometimes this line is at the top, sometimes this line is at the bottom. When the line is at the top, it means that the left and right side of her brain is more holistically functioning. When we see at the bottom, it means that the left and right sides are doing different things. And it's okay that it's fluctuating. This is a healthy brain. Because with eyes open, different processes have to happen. And so the brain comes together for a moment, breaks apart, comes together again, and breaks apart. So this is looking at eyes open. So now, Pavani, you can close your eyes, begin your TM practice. This is alpha activity. Notice the coherence at the top. Thank you, Pavani. Now you can stop your meditation practice. Open your eyes when you're comfortable. Notice as our eyes are opening, you see the coherence now becomes very variable. Thank you. Let's go back and just to see that difference. So look again at the eyes open. That was great, Pavani. Thank you. You can sit there for a little more if you want. So again, in the eyes open, what is the state of the brain? The state of the brain is different parts of the brain are functioning separately. It's fragmented processing. And we saw that in terms of the actual frequency of the brain wave is very fast. We see the coherence is going up and down. And again, this is normally what's happening. And for people who don't meditate, that's what their brain is constantly doing. It's one substate after another. And so Bernard, if you could go to where she begins her TM practice, and Bhavani can see her brain when she's meditating. Notice the first thing. Notice this transition in brain waves. It's really a change in state. It's like a switch going on. And that switch is from attention going out to looking at the people, looking at you, to attention going in and just transcending. And giving the brain that state allows that state to begin to be seen more and more in daily activity. Thank you very much, Bhavani. That was great.
Thank you so much, Dr. Travis. That was fascinating, and it's wonderful that we have such an evidence in our brain. So everybody of you should start learning transcendental meditation. Would be nice. So now I would like to, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Ashley Deans. And Dr. Deans is the executive president of the vice president of the Global Union of Scientists for Peace. And he is also a professional professor at Maharishi International University, and he teaches education and physics. And he is also the executive director of the Maharishi School of the Age of Enlightenment. He is also an associate of the Royal College of Science, and he studied physics in the York University in Toronto in Canada. And now he is presently touring all over the world and introducing consciousness-based education to schools and universities, and thousands of students and pupils have learned transcendental meditation and its advanced techniques in over 100, 200 institutes of education. So it's my joy to invite Dr. Deans on the stage, and we will open now for questions from your side. And please give the audience a microphone, and who would like to raise the first question? And you can ask any of the speakers any question. And also when you ask the question, please mention your name and which media house you're from. That would be really appreciated.
Thank you very much. My name is Sagar. My question goes on. India is a very poor country where billions of people are in the state of poverty. This meditation is a subject for affluent. educated, and hardly people are educated. So for a lower strata of society, what is your, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi has got a big name. So I would like to ask you, the people who are right in the downtrodden state, what is your message to them? So that these are all media people, they can write and they can benefit from it. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for this question. We should
Thank you.
We would like to clarify that transcendental meditation doesn't require any previous knowledge, philosophy, or background, or science. We have presented the scientific background, which can be complicated in certain ways, physics, quantum mechanics, and because we have to understand the mechanism of action. So, for example, if you want to have light in your room, you can just flip the switch and anybody can do that. We don't have to have any background of any knowledge of how electricity is produced, how it is channeled to your house, and the resistance of the wires and how it is done. So there are two things. There is the theory, the effect, and the study of it, the engineering part, and there is the technical part. That's why we call it technology. It's a technology of consciousness that children, even from the age of 4 or 5, can start practicing, and people with any knowledge, background, or no knowledge, no background at all, can practice it. It's a very simple, innocent technique, and it will enliven creativity and intelligence, and that is why it is very important for everyone to actually use it. There is the Maslow pyramid, Abraham Maslow saying that first you have to look for your food, and then you can think, and then, at what point you are able to transcend and have self-actualization. What Maharishi Mahesh Yogi has taught to the world and has shown scientifically is that if you transcend first, which means you go to samadhi first, and this is available to every human being, then your creativity increases, your ability to find ways to gain your livelihood and to be wealthy increases. So you start from the top, enliven your awareness and your consciousness, and that will give you all the power and energy and intelligence to achieve your goals in life.
Thank you, Dr. Neda. एंड क्योंकि हम भारत में हैं, तो जो पत्रकार हिंदी में अपना सवाल पूछना चाहते हैं, हम उसको ट्रांसलेट कर सकते हैं.
Sir, whatever you said for an educated and those who are, learning physics and other things. I am asking a meditation for a common man. So if you can enlighten me on that subject, I'll be grateful to you.
Yeah, for the common man, I'll say, do you want to be able to achieve your goals? Do you want to be able to be happy? Do you want to be able to sleep better? Do you want to be able to have better relation with your family? Says yes. Then I say, close the eyes, take this mantra, do it like this, and then do it 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening, and come back and tell me how you feel. And the science shows us that when they come back to tell you, they'll tell you, I am better, I am clearer, I am more intelligent, I am able to fulfill my life. And many would say, transcendental meditation saved my life.
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Anil. I have two quick questions. The one is when you are listening to a demonstration or a talk, closed versus the open eyes. So we find, as per the demo, like there are some differences. So what do you suggest? Like you listen and understand in the closed eyes when you are in a room where you are being addressed. And the second is the dome science. I mean the meditation in a dome. So do we have a special architectural design on that?
Very, very good question. Dr. Travis?
Just to clarify his first question.
Can you repeat your first question, sir?
The first one is open versus the closed eyes. I mean, if I'm listening to you with open eyes and I'm listening to you with a closed eyes, suppose I'm in a workshop or seminar or in a classroom. So what actually would be you suggesting? Like we can maybe do it with a closed eye or with an open eye?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand that.
Yeah, so why do you close your eyes when you transcend? It's because when your eyes are open, your attention naturally goes out. And what's happening with TM is you're learning how to let the attention settle within. And to reply to the first question, how you do that is by allowing the natural tendency of the mind to take the mind within. The natural tendency of the mind is what you've been experiencing over the last 30 minutes. We've tried to make this very engaging. But your mind has been thinking, what am I going to have for lunch? What am I going to do on the weekend? It's the natural tendency of the mind to look for things which are more pleasing, more attractive. And we use that natural tendency to take the mind within because quieter levels of the mind are fuller, richer, more fulfilling, so the mind will naturally go there. And so we close the eyes just to let the attention turn within. Did that address that part of your question? Thank you.
Was there a follow-up or a second part of the question?
No, not second part, it's a different question altogether.
Okay.
The dome science. I mean, meditating in dome.
Dome architecture.
So what is the significance of people meditating in the dome together is the question.
And also the dome, which has got an actual architectural design which is scientific. Yeah. So if you can
Is there
throw
a
some light.
significance of the architectural value of the dome?
That's a good question. Ideally, you would have a building which incorporated the principles of Vastu. And that would be ideal, and we're working on that. Maharishi brought that knowledge out after the domes had been built. But the first part of the question is that the significance of having everyone come together in one place is so you get the group effect of the TM City program. That's where the square root of 1% number comes from, is from group practice. And that's why in Hyderabad, people are coming from all over the world to join the group.
Hello.
Great.
I wanted to mention something quickly with respect to for our colleagues who are neuroscientists or who report to neuroscientists. When you close your eyes, the coherence automatically starts in the occipital lobe of the brain because your attention is no more on the outside. It's very rare to find the coherence spreading to the front of the part. So I want to highlight that when the study was done with the young lady, it was picking up on the front of the brain, which doesn't happen except if you really transcend and go down into the settled state of consciousness.
Hello. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Abhishek from Top Story English newspaper. And my question is related to consciousness of mind. And it is basically related to astrological science and numerology. Basically, sir, I want to know that does reading horoscope regularly in newspaper impact on the consciousness of mind, and regularly reading it translate it any connection with the planets?
A very interesting question. Any of the speakers would like to take that up?
My question is because 11 members of the family committed suicide in Noida. A complete member of the family committed suicide in Delhi, Buradi area, which was basically being practiced in superstitious practice or blind beliefs, and they died in a house. So my question is, from astrological horoscope reading, does it really impact mind and connect any energy with the planets in the world?
Well, I'll start with that. First, we are intimately connected with the world around us. We're not fragmented individual billiard balls rolling around on a billiard table. We're part of a larger system. Our family system, the system of India, the national system, the system of the world, the system of the galaxy. So we are created. There's some bodies of knowledge that have tried to systematize that. Horoscope from the West is imperfect knowledge. So you can read that, but it's going to be giving you imperfect information. And so it's going to be putting things in your mind which may not be accurate. In Vedic tradition, there's a science of Jyotish, which just understands that the fundamental impulses of the Ved, which create the physiology, as Dr. Nader mentioned, also create the world around us. So we can see these patterns in the world around us and understand what's happening inside. So yes, we are part of a larger system. The point about superstition is so important because there's a lot of information out there. And that's why the whole science of consciousness, practice of transcendental meditation, we look at it from the lens of science because we want to separate out just hearsay and opinions to find out what's actually happening.
So that something works doesn't mean everything works, and doesn't mean everything is correct to do, so we have to be careful. That's why we have subjected this technique to rigorous scientific study now for 80 years or so, and therefore repeatedly try to see what works, what doesn't work. And in this case, we have all positive effects and no side effects or problems.
Thank you, Dr. Nader. And just to add to that, I think we have to also try and understand the principle of it. The principle of transcendental meditation is based on simplicity. So it's like when we want to nurture a plant, we just water the roots of the plant. That watering takes care of the flower, the fruit, the leaves, all aspects of the plant. And we just water the plant, water the root. On the other hand, in our lives today, what we try to do is try to, polish different aspects which are more outside, which are more material aspects, rather than watering the root. So this technique is based on that simple principle of watering the root, which will nourish all aspects of our life. Just to add on to what the scientist said on the dais. Next question, please. Yes.
My name is Rohit Sishodia. I am from Drug Today Medical Times. Mm-hmm. My question is, can you explain science behind meditation? And the other question is there any study that can prove that it can end violence and bring peace in the world?
Yes, there are several studies, and the question is, what is the science behind transcendental meditation and what do the studies reveal?
We can all speak, but I'd like to ask Dr. Ashley Deans, who hasn't had a chance to.
The first point about transcendental meditation is that it is natural. Maharishi describes how the mind has a nature, and the nature of the mind is to wander to an area of greater charm. A big misunderstanding in the field of meditation has been that the mind needs to be controlled. But if we control the mind, it keeps the mind on the surface level. The nature of the mind is to wander to something more blissful. Where is the greatest bliss in the universe? It's in that field of Sat Chit Ananda. The word Ananda, absolute bliss consciousness, that is that field of pure consciousness, that unified field that we've been talking about. So transcendental meditation is a simple, natural technique to allow the mind to dive within, under its own nature, to that field of Ananda. So that's the principle of how it works scientifically, based on the nature of the mind. In terms of Dr. Nader's discovery, that consciousness is all that there is, that the misunderstanding has been that the brain creates consciousness. Dr. Nader has brought out that ultimately consciousness is fundamental and consciousness creates the brain. And that's the area of research that's really going on at the moment, is to understand those mechanics.
Thank you. And just to add, because meditation experiences are lived experiences, are felt experiences, they're not imagined things in your brain. Because they're lived experiences, meditation will change the breath. It'll change the heart rate. It'll change the brain waves. So that's how science studies meditation. It can't actually put an electrode on the field of consciousness itself. But what we can do is put an electrode on the brain, which is allowing us to experience that, and then that gives a picture. As we saw with Pavani, as their attention went from outside to inside and transcending, the brain was giving us a signal, something is happening differently. And this is also for your second question, how does this experience help to reduce social tensions? Dr. Nader brought this out, also Dr. Hagelin brought it out, that previous studies had looked very systematically at large numbers of people and what happened with social trends and so on. At the 10,000 group in Hyderabad, there's research that'll look more at how does it work. We'll be looking both on the level of brain waves, brain-to-brain synchrony. We'll be looking at the level of epigenetics to see how does this propagation of this activity on the fundamental field actually have an effect. And this will allow us to continue to speak in a scientific way about how we can actually be empowered by our individual action to help the world around us.
I'd like to add something which is a clarification. These 10,000 people are not coming to sit and discuss world peace or talk about it and, say, oh, it's wonderful to love each other, it's great, and, we should create peace. It's not a demonstration to say, we take banners and walk in the streets and say, you should have this, and get, media covering in that way. It is really people who are going to just sit and close the eyes, not even talk to each other, not even, there'll be discussions from time to time for knowledge's sake, but the effect will be produced from just transcending and being in the self, and then the effect is created on the level of nature, not on the level of convincing, not on the level of compromise, not on the level of agreements, not on the level of fighting, on the level of being. So what we have is to change the collective awareness, to change the field of being under which all these people in all these countries are working, and which is nowadays stressed, and that's why there is conflict. And we want to cool that down, actually effectively cool down the collective consciousness of the world, and then the results will happen spontaneously. So there will always be somebody who will say, I met with this one, and I met with that one, and we made an agreement, and we decided to stop the war. And you will see, oh, okay, they are the one who created the peace. They are not. They are just reacting to the collective awareness, to the collective consciousness, and they are only a mirror of how the collective awareness is. And so, of course, the results will be on the surface. There will be some meetings, there will be some decisions, somebody will come and be the champion of well-being, and all of that, and some mechanism have to happen on the surface. But that thing which is on the surface, which is the wave, is motivated by the quality of the ocean, how the ocean is. Is the ocean peaceful, calm, or is it turbulent and stressed?
Thank you for that, Dr. Nader. Do we have a...
Hi, I'm Akanksha. I'm from The Print. I'd really like to ask, since there was some discussion on how transcendental meditation is reliable, systematic, I just wanted to ask, there's been a lot of discussion about what its effects are, but how exactly does one perform transcendental meditation? What is the process? Since you said even a 4-year-old child can do it. And since it's systematic, what is the systematic procedure by which these 10,000 experts will be doing it? And what is the process, essentially?
It's a very good question. Thank you for that. It's a practical question of how does a person actually meditate?
Ram is a great teacher. He can even answer that.
Just to answer what transcendental meditation is, it is a very simple, natural, effective technique of meditation. And the way it's done, it's practiced 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening, sitting comfortably with eyes closed. You don't have to sit in an uncomfortable posture, like we're all sitting here in chairs. We can just close our eyes and meditate. The way it is learned is by a certified teacher of transcendental meditation. And in fact, our founder, His Holiness Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, made a system which is so robust so that the purity of the knowledge is passed on from the teacher to the person learning in a very, very systematic way, in which the teacher actually doesn't have an input. whatever he's been trained. So a person becomes a transcendental meditation teacher after going through a rigorous course of 6 months in residence. That's when you become a teacher of transcendental meditation, and you basically become a pipe for the knowledge to flow from the tradition, from the Vedic tradition, to the person who's learning transcendental meditation. And just to answer the second part of your question of what happens or how do people look like when they're meditating, I think we played certain videos right before the conference in which you could see kids sitting with eyes closed and people sitting with eyes closed and meditating. And that is what creates the effect of coherence in the atmosphere. Does that answer your question? Great, thank you. Yes, please. So a follow-up question, just so everybody can hear, is there a connection with concentrating on the breath, or for that matter, concentrating on anything during meditation? Actually, that's the differentiator of transcendental meditation, that there is no effort involved. There is no concentration involved. There is no focus involved. Because, in our life today, when we look at our lives, everything that we're doing, we do with concentration, focus, effort, everything. So if we sit to meditate and if we follow the same process, it is still very outwardy. And in transcendental meditation, what happens is, there is a mantra that is given, there is a technique that is passed, and the technique takes us to this ocean of consciousness which is within us in a very, very natural, effortless way. And that's actually the biggest differentiator of the technique, that it is so simple that a 10-year-old kid can practice it. Clear?
It's a technique. You have, to learn it in order to see how it works. As Dr. Travis said, and our colleagues have said, it uses the natural tendency of the mind. What's the natural tendency of the mind? Why the mind thinks? It thinks because it's searching for more fulfillment, more happiness, or getting rid of strain, getting rid of things that are limiting. We always want to be more creative. We want more love. We want more happiness. We want better things to hear, better things to think about. If you're reading a book and your eyes are going through the book, but the book is not very interesting, and some music starts next door, your mind suddenly goes to the music, even if your eyes are still going through the words, but you just think you're reading, but your attention has gone to the music because it is more charming. So the shift of attention of the mind from one situation to another happens completely effortlessly. There is no effort when you suddenly find your mind on the music and your intention was to read the book. You didn't do anything. It's just something more charming attracted you. So you go there. So that tendency of the mind is what we use in transcendental meditation. Except usually we are directed to the outward world. We are, through our senses, projects us outside. What we do in transcendental meditation is tell you there is something deeper within you that is more charming than anything you can have, which is your ocean of being, your own inner self. You didn't know that, but that is the reality. And when you dive within, the mind naturally wants to go there. It settles down. Okay, now you say, how does it settle down? Do you force it? The more you try to force it, the less it will do it. The more you try to manipulate it, the less it will go there. So what you learn through transcendental meditation is how to dive without doing anything. It sounds complicated, but it's so simple. That's why Ram said even children learn it and they don't need to have any background of knowledge or philosophy or anything.
Yes, ma'am.
So hi, I'm Neha Mishra from PTI. As you know, India is a very diverse country. So everyone has a different mindset and each mind work in their own accordingly, on other way. So do you really think it will be a very long impact, because the technique, as you told already, that a 4-year kid also can can practice it. So I want to know about the lasting period. Do we need to practice it in a frequent way, or because we know as a human we cannot stick to something which will benefit our like peace and mental. So we'll of course break that relation. So I just wonder the period of it will last for long, or it will be like we have to practice it after a duration of time, each duration of time.
So the question is whether regularity is important and what benefits will regularity bring in, and what's the value of it?
Yes, regularity is important because the brain's a river and not a rock. The brain's a river and not a rock. Everything, you're going to leave here in 30 minutes, you're going to leave the hotel, you're going to see the world as a different place because of the knowledge, because of the experience you've had here. This is what the brain is doing every time you have an experience. So what you're doing is you're giving the brain in your 20 minutes of TM a new experience. It's not an experience which is characterized by something, some color, some word, something specific. It's an experience of your universal nature, that you're whole, you're full, you're complete, you're growing. And then you come out and you have that psychological experience, but you've also given the brain a new style of functioning. That is where it's globally awake to every other part of the brain. And what happens is if you meditate in the morning, you'll go out, you'll feel you bring that with you, and then it starts to dissipate throughout the day. If about 3 or 4 in the afternoon you sit down and meditate again, you reconnect to your inner being, and then it's there throughout the evening. And what happens with this regular twice-a-day experience, you begin to transform how your brain is functioning. What we find in terms of science is the brain waves we see during TM begin to be seen during activity. So that deep inner silence, that universal nature that you're experiencing during TM, that becomes part of your day-to-day life. And what you experience is you're less overwhelmed by things. You're less challenged by things. You begin to appreciate other people's points of view. Someone was speaking about India as a diverse place. We don't want all Indians to think the same thing, because the diversity is what makes this country so very rich. What we want to do is have everyone's thoughts coming from a place of silence and broad vision, so they see how their activity is actually fitting in with what everyone else is doing. So yes, it's twice a day, but the same way we sleep at night, we eat 2-3 meals a day, and we do that regularity to allow us to continue to grow.
To add just a small thing, it's so charming that people look forward to meditating. You know, people imagine, oh, I have to do this, it's part of what I need to do, I should be right, I should be good, and I should meditate, I should concentrate, I should focus, I should do that, I should do that. And it's like another new thing that one has to do. Whereas transcendental meditation, people run for it, they just wait for the time to do it. Because this is the time when you actually experience joy and pleasure and well-being and settled peacefulness. So it's something you look forward to doing rather than something that is an imposition that you really have to do as an additional thing for your well-being.
And I think you raised another important point on diversity of different groups of India. You know, in this conference in Hyderabad, there are people coming from 132 countries, which are from different cultural backgrounds, which are from different religions, different lifestyles. But they all have benefited from this technique, and they're all peacemakers which are converging together for this conference to demonstrate that technology so that our scientists can measure the effects. Great. Yes, please.
Hello, everyone. I would just like to address one question which was coming up many times regarding how it's going to help India. So India, as we all know, has always given message of peace to the whole world, and His Holiness Maharshi Mahesh Yogi has got this message scientifically evaluated. So India has always been in that situation. So I would like to share with all of you that there are thousands of children in schools in India practicing transcendental meditation and TMC program. So it's already in the system here. Many schools, many thousands of children who are from different strata of the society, not necessarily the influential schools or big schools, big names, schools which are having children from all the socio-economical backgrounds. The children coming to the school, they are getting this technique, they are following it as a consciousness-based education. In Hindi, we call it Chetana Adharit Shiksha. And through that, we are reaching out to the most core young generation of India. As we all know, India is a young country. So in this way, we are catering to the most, we can say, the children who Maharshi says are the future of the world.
I'd like to recognize in this regard Brahmachari Girish Varmaji and Shri Prakashji, who are with us, who are great champions of education and champions and leaders with Ram and others, Lakshman here with us and others. They are great leaders in this program, and they have schools and universities starting all over India. They have thousands and soon hundreds of thousands of students. So thank you for being there. We are honored to have you.
So we're going to continue question and answers over lunch. If you have any questions for our speakers, we can have them personally answered over lunch. And now I'd like to invite Mona to give us a very special message from the ex-Prime Minister of Japan.
Ram, and thank you for your questions. Now, before we conclude this conference, I would like to send a message, read a message of congratulations from the former Prime Minister of Japan, the Right Honorable Yoki Hatayama. Prime Minister Yoki Hatayama writes, and I quote, Honorable Dr. Tony Neda, Chairman of the Global Union of Scientists for Peace, all the leaders of the world, all the assembly participants, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great honor to address to you a congratulation message for the 10,000 World Peace Assembly in Kanha Shanti Vayan, Hyderabad, India. I have been advocating the theme of fraternity, which means friendship and love, amongst all the nations of peace and prosperity, for peace and prosperity. I'm impressed by the achievements of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi to realize global peace through the practice of the Transcendental Meditation and the TMCD programs, which are verified by solid scientific research. Our world needs a group of at least 9,000 people practicing the Transcendental Meditation and the TMCD programs. The square root of 1% of the world's population. And under the leadership of Dr. Tony Neda, we are achieving that today. I feel certain that this group will show the way to peace in today's world. Based upon my experience as Prime Minister of Japan, I would like strongly propose that all the governments in the world look into this demonstration, look at the scientific data, and support the creation of a permanent group in the world for fraternity, peace, and prosperity. I thank you all very much for gathering for this noble goal to mankind and been pursuing for thousands of years. Congratulations again. What a beautiful message, and we hope that all the governments will take it on and create the groups of peace, and we will have a permanent group in India. That would be wonderful. So now the copy of this letter is in this press kit, and I hope you all have that. And I will quickly go through before we have another session with a nice photo to make for you what is in there, that you know that everything is available for your writing your articles. So the press release contains today's contains today's press release. I have to put this somewhere. Okay. Today's press release, Plus, it contains also a copy of the letter to President Biden and to world leaders from Dr. Nader in the Wall Street Journal, urging to use these technologies of consciousness for peace. Also, all the biographies of the speakers are in there, and of other several speakers, backgrounders. And you have also printed materials, which is included here, again, in a flash drive. You will see that. And there is also on that flash drive a B-roll and other videos you can use, and also portraits of our speakers. And if you want to have more interviews with our speakers, then there is in this link the contact. You can contact them directly, or you're gonna talk to the organizers of this conference. On the letterhead of the press release, you will find their contact details. So now I would like you to take a photo of a group. We will meditating here now together, and then you can take photos. And these are people which meditate, are representatives from 30 countries. And we are really happy that you can just see how easy it goes to meditate. So welcome now to take a photo when we are meditating together. And then afterwards we have lunch, and then around they take the interviews after lunch here at the place. Interviews now. Okay, good. Very nice.
So we'll now invite everyone to join us for lunch. And media people who would like interviews of Dr. Nader and other scientists on the dais, we are available to do that now as well. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you to our speakers and all the media people. And please join us for lunch. Thank you.